let's cross now to give you the latest from the United States. We'll bring in Steve Herman. He's the White House Bureau Chief for Voice of America, joining us now live from his home in Alexandria in Virginia. Steve, great to have you on. Thanks for staying up, I guess, in the U.S. Good morning to you from South Africa. Let's begin with what would have been developments for us overnight, and that is those two important conferences that Joe Biden and Donald Trump have just given. Donald Trump sticking to his guns, giving unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud. I'm interested, though, in contrasting that with his body language. He seemed to have been a man almost, if you were just to read his body language, realizing how difficult a situation he finds himself at this late stage of the election.
Well, I would describe President Donald Trump on the podium at the White House on Thursday evening as defiant and perhaps in the eyes of his critics engaged in some alternative reality statements because there just is no evidence, at least that members of the media and the public have seen, of the allegations that he was making about widespread vote fraud, that there's been some deliberate attempt by the Democrats to sabotage the process and somehow manipulate votes for Joseph Biden. On the other hand, the public statement from the former vice president was one urging patience but expressing confidence that when all the votes are counted, and he emphasized that all the votes have been counted, that he will be the president. And Donald Trump making a distinction between what he called legal votes and illegal votes. Again, just no evidence of that whatsoever.
Right. I think most people, though, Steve, would agree that you'd rather be Donald Trump yesterday than Donald Trump today, given how much movement has taken place. But important the remarks coming from Joe Biden as well, calling for calm, because already at this hour, as you and I speak, it appears protests in places like Arizona are starting to flare up. How concerned really are the American people about things spilling over into full-on violence, given the discord around the legitimacy of this election, according to Trump at least?
Well, we just don't know. There is a lot of tension. There's going to be some anger no matter what the results are. There have been people marching on the streets. There have been some arrests. But these are not major incidents as of yet. We can be assured that Joe Biden, regardless of the outcome, will call for calm. But if Donald Trump loses, and especially if he doesn't concede, even though there could come a time very shortly when the Associated Press and other news organizations call 270, the number of electoral votes for Joe Biden, how does the president react to that? Some people are already saying that his language is being provocative. Twitter slapped advisories, warnings on his tweets, masking them and saying that this information may not be true. Just how far is he willing to go? For many of the major news organizations, his speech on Thursday night at the White House was a step too far. The three major networks in the United States cut out of that speech and went into instant fact-checking while the president was still talking.
Wow, that is remarkable. Absolutely unprecedented. And I guess so many of us have just become numb of just how, unscripted the president is and just, ways through which he's able to make remarkable statements. But we've given a lot of attention to the presidency, and perhaps rightly so, but whoever gets the keys into the White House also has to deal with the dynamic in the Senate. Hypothetically speaking, if the person to get to the White House is Joe Biden, how are things looking like for him in the Senate?
Well, at this point, the Senate is still in the hands of the Republican Party. We're going to have a runoff for 2 seats in the state of Georgia in January. But Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, is expressing confidence that come January, he will still be the Senate Majority Leader. The Democrats didn't seem to quite pull it off with the Senate race, and they lost a number of seats in the House of Representatives, the lower chamber. but they still retain a comfortable majority there.
Right. And, you know, you've already alluded to this before. Whoever wins is going to have to deal with an American society that's incredibly undecided or divided, I beg your pardon, that's the word I'm looking for. How best does the next president of the United States work to mend these severed ties? I mean, it certainly seems like a mammoth task.
There is quite a polarization in the country. Biden has said that he's going to be not a Democrat president, but a president for all Americans. I think some signals will come when we see who does he appoint for his cabinet. Does he include any members of the Republican Party in there? But we have to remember the Republican Party has its own divisions. There have been several, not many, but some members of the Republican Party who did not support the president. They're seen as traitors by the Trump supporters. And it seems very inconceivable that Mr. Biden would appoint anyone to his cabinet who was a supporter of Trump. So it could be a very tense time ahead in the United States, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, you speak about tensions. You, as a journalist in the United States, along with many of our colleagues, have had to negotiate a few tense moments. It's been what some people are calling a marathon of coverage since Tuesday. Take us into what this journey has been like for you as the media in America, covering this not only for the American people, but certainly for the rest of the world, watching with great anticipation to see what the next 4 years might look like.
Well, our job is to be objective as possible, to state the facts, provide fact-checking as quickly as possible, and analysis. Now, frankly, in this country, a lot of the media, the television media on cable channels, are quite partisan, and people, to some degree, want to have their views reinforced, and they go to those particular channels to hear what they want to hear and see what they want to see. For many of us in the media, we're trying to maintain our position straight down the middle. It's something we definitely do at Voice of America, and that tends to upset partisans. So you can't please everybody, but you know, one attitude to adopt if you're a reporter covering this is to look at what is the reaction, and if people are upset on both sides, maybe you're doing a good job then.
Right. Well, thanks very much for the great work that you do. We certainly have appreciated the insights coming from Voice of America. Let's leave it there, at least for now. No doubt we'll be touching base with you and your colleagues as we count down to that all-important moment. 270 is what each of the candidate needs in order to gain access into the White House. That there was Steve Herman. He's the White House Bureau Chief for Voice of America, joining us live there from Virginia.